Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Joyce Manor record, Never Hungover Again.
Joyce Manor, more like day planner, like clear some time in your schedule to make a better name for your group.
I hate Count Chester. Joyce Manor is a California rock band. This is their third full-length album right here. I use the word album in the punkest of terms, given that this thing is about 19 minutes long. I've had a few brushes with their music in the past, like their self-titled debut and their sophomore record as well, both of which I'm kind of on the fence with. Sort of rowdy, wild, but very tightly performed pop punk on these records. Pop punk that felt more brash than it was commercial. I do like my pop punk with more punk than pop. And even though the songs on these records were kind of short, they were just long enough to be satisfying. Though I will say it was a little bit of a letdown for their last album to be like 13 minutes long. Now, as far as the vocals go in this band, while they are not the most original or distinct in rock music, they are incredibly expressive, emotive, and vulnerable, though I don't really think I'd be able to pick them out that well in a lineup. The singing isn't too wimpy or whiny, and yet it's not too aggressive either. This band is something that I think even your average rock fan who isn't typically into emo or punk rock could get into. Joyce Manor on this new record of theirs, I think, are surprisingly accessible. There's just something about this album that kind of reminds me of the mainstream stride that emo music hit in the 2000s. There's maybe even a little splash of old Against Me records on this LP too. And another positive for this record and Joyce Manor in general, I find them to be a tad more tuneful than a lot of the bands out there who are currently in this new wave revival of emo, Midwest emo. It's probably why I'm gravitating towards so many songs on this new record of theirs. Now, this album is not really stylistically a night and day change from anything Joyce Manor had already done in the past. This is a band that kind of sticks to their guns. The biggest change of pace I'm picking up on this record is that the production isn't nearly as noisy, so Joyce Manor definitely bringing a slightly cleaner sound on this LP, though the performances still feel raw, and the melodies and the hooks I think are just a tad sharper and more memorable. Right with the opening track, Christmas Cards, we're getting these really sticky lead vocals, some anthemically and dramatically hammered guitar chords moving really slowly. The vocals do come off a little sloppy, a little amateurish, but they are still loaded with captivating passion. There is just enough melodrama in the vocals and these songs to not only make them visceral, but kind of bittersweet too. And this formula kind of runs throughout the entire record, with a few variations here and there. And it's not really something that gets all that stale, since the album is under 20 minutes in length. It doesn't even really get a chance to get stale. I love the vocal harmonies that run throughout the first half of the song Falling in Love Again. There are some really endearing lyrics on this track, a lovesick synth melody. The end of the song falls away into this reverbed abyss. I do think the second half of this track is a little blander than the first half. There are moments where melodically Joyce Manor just isn't that memorable, and their lack of a truly distinct sound kind of bites them in the ass. Songs like The Jerk, Catalina Fight Song, the shortest track on this entire LP, and maybe the most unmemorable. However, Joyce Manor redeems itself with tracks like End of the Summer, a song that has a pretty strong dance beat, a grooving bass, really warm guitar leads. I think it's a contender for most beautiful track on the entire record. And the vocal melody on this chorus reminds me of the kind of balladry that Weezer used to bring to the table on their first two records. It's a really immediate and poppy song too. I wish Joyce Manor indulged in this side of their songwriting a little bit more. There's also winning pop punk tunes on this thing like Victoria. I love the fast-paced chords and tempo on this track, just how muscular the drums are, and the chorus is killer. Victoria! Really triumphant part of the song. And melodically and lyrically, there's just something about Heart Tattoo that kind of reminds me of like an Enema of the State era Blink-182 song. Like, I could hear Tom DeLonge totally singing these lyrics. And it's a cute sentiment in the song with wanting a heart tattoo and sort of the love that it represents, and not really caring about that the tattoo looks bad, actually full well knowing and understanding that it looks bad, but sort of still wanting that tattoo because it sort of makes love feel like a reality. And the song In the Army Now may be one of the more downtrodden and sad tracks on the entire LP, which to me kind of feels like a song acknowledging that somebody has to go away in the military and sort of, missing that person, suffering that sort of loss or that distance. And the drumming, the guitar chords, the melody totally reminds me of like a Bad Religion track from the 90s or the late 80s, which, Joyce Manor delivers a good take on this sound from this era of punk, even though it is maybe my least favorite era of punk. The finish of this LP, Heated Swimming Pool, is an alright song, though I do kind of find myself rolling my eyes a little bit at the lyric, my house, my rules, my heated swimming pool. It's a bit of an uneventful finish for the record. Doesn't really bring much in the way of closure, but I don't know what I was really expecting. It's a 19-minute long album. Joyce Manor is a good band. They play together really well. The production on this record is good. At least half of the songs are written really well. They have a great pop sensibility. The vocals are decent. Their biggest and most glaring sin is that their sound isn't really that distinct, nor are they that ambitious. However, I did still end up enjoying this record. As far as the purveyors, the bands out there right now that are toying with this not so far into the past style of indie rock and emo, you can't really go wrong with this LP. You could, in fact, go much wronger. I'm feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on this thing. Transition, if you've given this record a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Joyce Manor, forever.